This is On TV with a live news update. We're very happy to have Mike Da Pratt in our studios to get a perspective. In case you haven't heard, national news media sources are now reporting that starting at midnight tonight, the United States is going to impose a tariff on imported steel from Canada. So, Mike, first thought is this is not good things for Algoma.
Well, no, it's not. However, I've been dealing with CEOs for a good portion of my life, and the Americans have elected a CEO as president, and he's acting like a typical CEO, which is when you're negotiating, you negotiate with force.
Mm-hmm. So do you think if we push back a little bit that he'll back off? Is that what you
We
feel?
absolutely have to push back. And I'm hoping that Quebec Hydro and perhaps what would be appropriate would be for us to place taxes, our own tariffs, on energy going into the United States. Not simply putting tariffs on their products, but if we're not going to be a preferred partner with the Americans, then and we're going to be treated the same as everyone else, well, then we don't owe them anything. What we do is, anything you want from us, you have to pay an appropriate price, not a preferred partner price.
Makes sense, right? Because that's exactly what they're doing. There's no preferential treatment here anymore.
Absolutely, and look at what Canada has done. We've had NORAD, the North American Defense, and we were left with all the cleanup. We still have a bunch of pollution up in the north because of it. We allow the Americans to fly over. We do all kinds of things with the Americans. We're as proud of our country as the Americans are of theirs. And we were proud of the partnership we had. But apparently, the CEO of the United States decides that that's not necessary anymore.
It's interesting you refer to him as the CEO because obviously his background is very much from the business world. Does he understand the repercussions of decisions like this?
I have no idea, but when I watch, and I watch every Sunday, I watch the American news shows, and he's acting so much the way a CEO does. A CEO doesn't fire people directly, but he has people fired. A CEO makes all kinds of decisions regarding the company, and if they're wrong, no one has the nerve to tell the CEO that he is wrong, or she. So he is acting absolutely that way, and he is acting the same way that CEOs put unions on strikes. He's doing the same thing with the countries he's negotiating in. He's negotiating from force. Either you agree to what you're being asked of, or this is what I will do, and then he does it.
And he doesn't like NAFTA, and he thinks it's taking too long. Is this part of that, do you think? Is he pushing?
Everything is about a CEO. We had one time that said, if we don't do this, and this, we're going to be bankrupt anyway, and he destroyed half the steel plant. So that's what happens with the people. A CEO is absolutely godlike. They have all the power and the authority. And unfortunately, when you're in government, it's a different story.
So on a level that we are at in Sault Ste. Marie, is there anything that we can do about it? How do we push back?
We push back by making sure that our representatives retaliate. That is the only appropriate reaction to this kind of overt aggression.
I guess if you need to talk his language.
They negotiate from power. They have the ability to, well, look at his history. Goes in, take all these sacrifices, you don't, I'll liquidate the company, right? Well, it's a little more difficult when you're president of a country, because you can't liquidate the other countries to get what you want, which is what he's basically threatening to do.
So do you feel like there's any wiggle room? The Prime Minister is speaking at 1:30 this afternoon. Depending on what he says, do you think that Trump might back off a little bit and extend the deadline again?
It's hard to say. The problem is going to be we have to be firm. You can't draw a line in the sand and back away from it and let them cross it. The answer is going to be either we're partners or we're not. If we're not, then we find other markets for our lumber, and China comes to mind. Our steel is going to be hurting, but once we develop all our own infrastructure improvements in this country, we make it Canadian steel. And we'll pick up again.
So people in Sault Ste. Marie, of course, have been, on edge with SR or with Algoma, and their current situation in the courts has been for a couple of years, it seems like. Pensioners are very concerned about not getting their pensions after years of devoted work. Your union people, you're just negotiating with the company now. How do you reassure everybody? How do you say or can you calm everybody down?
We are very close to a deal for a collective agreement. We can't control the market, and certainly we can't control American tariffs, etc. So to the extent that we can reassure them that we're confident we'll get a collective agreement, we can do that. To tell them that Algoma will continue in the short term as profitably as it is if the tariffs stay in place, we can't do that. But you know what? Take a page out of somebody else's book. As long as we have our health, we can fix anything, right? If you don't have your health. So that's how I keep a positive outlook on life. As long as I have my health, my family has their health, my friends have their health, there's always a step forward.
You can always work towards a solution.
Exactly. So
you understand, of course, how scared people are, right?
Well, sure.
There's going to be talk about, Sault Ste. Marie turning into a ghost town or,
Yeah, but what is worrying about that going to get you, other than maybe getting sick? The more you worry about it is not going to change anything, right? Let's hope for the best. Keep a positive atmosphere, and above all, keep your family and your health together.
And as you said, I think it's really important to have the Canadian officials be strong in themselves.
They have to be firm, and they have to be self-confident, because let's face it, Canada is a sovereign country, right? We're not vassals of the United States, whether they buy our products or they don't. And the answer is going to be that they're going to need our resources. And if we say, well, you want to tariff everything we send you, well, then we'll tariff the rest of it, right? So that it negatively affects you also. Well, let's see if they can stand alone the way they think they can.
Yes, apparently they think they can. Is that the CEO ego, do you think, Mike?
That's absolutely the CEO ego. Because let's look at it this way. They've had a bunch of natural disasters, and they need lumber. They can't supply it all on their own. So the people that are going to suffer is going to be their people as much as our people. But you know what? China wants timber also. So if that's the case, then we'll go elsewhere. And Canada needs to realize you can't sit and tell the workers you have to put up with a global economy and then continually rely on an internal economy with the United States. Why hasn't Canada developed globally the way they expect the workforce to do? So the answer is, our government needs to start striking trade agreements with other countries. You can't keep relying on the United States, because the United States is going to, at some point in time, have another person or more people that say we're going to make America great. And the idea of that is putting a wall around the United States. They tried that in the Second World War.
Look where that got them.
And that didn't work. They worked then, and it's not going to work this time either.
Right. We're going to take a quick break if you don't mind hanging around. We'd appreciate it. ONNtv, we'll be right back.